business events in Business Central. What are they and how can we use them? Well, in Business Central we have different ways of integrating our system with other systems. One of the main ways that come out of the box are webhooks. Now, the way webhooks work are that we have an API page, and once you have an API page, anyone can subscribe to this API page, which means that once something happens on a record that this API page is based on, a notification will send to an external URL, and they can then call back into Business Central and get the updated record. However, there is a small problem with this approach because no matter what kind of change has been made on the record, even if it's not something that is on the API page, the person will still be notified, which means they can actually end up making a lot of GET requests which are not really relevant for their sake. The strength behind the webhooks are that they're out of the box, so all you have to do is either create your own API page or use any standard API page, and people can start integrating with the system. Another approach is that you can create custom code that will, of course, whenever something happens, you can trigger this custom code and it will send the payload to whatever endpoint you are specifying. Now, the downside to this is, of course, you have to create custom code, which you have to maintain, and you also have to have all these different URLs inside your Business Central to see who you're going to be notifying. Unless, of course, you do something like having something in Asia that will then from there send it to whoever, but then you have to, of course, maintain that part also. And that's where business events come in. Business events is a middle ground between these two, because while business events work on the same concept as webhooks, anyone can actually subscribe to a business event, but when a business event, you have the ability to also only trigger it when it's relevant, and you also decide what payload you're sending. However, there is also a downside to this because you cannot use any kind of authentication except, of course, maybe some token inside your notification URL, but nothing like OAuth can be implemented here. So be careful what you're sending, because if you're sending something that is sensitive data, anyone who is actually subscribed to this event will get it without having a secure endpoint. Okay, well, let's see how easy it is to set these business events up in Business Central. So let's get into it. So in Business Central, it's very easy to actually set these business events up. All we have to do is first we create an enum extension of the event category. Here I've created mine for, I'm going to call it customer. Now, of course, you can call it whatever you want. You can also use some of the standard ones if you want. The idea here is to make it easy to see what are you actually categorizing these events from. So when people are trying to call them, it's easier for them to know if it's something that's relevant for them or not. But that's all. We create this very simple extension of the enum. And then I've created a code unit here. And it's very simple. All I've done is I've created this external business event. And as you can see, the signature, it takes the name, display name, description, and category. So my name I've created is the customer name changed, and then a description for it and what happens. And then I've used my new customer category event. This is the event name that people are going to see. And this, of course, is a small description of what exactly is going to happen. Then I just create a simple procedure. And here I have created the customer ID and the name. And these are actually the two things that I'm going to send to whoever is subscribing to this event. They will receive my customer ID and my name. And here I could add whatever I want. That's, of course, as I said, the strong part here is you can make the payload with all the fields you want. But like I said, keep in mind that there's no way to secure these payloads or secure who is getting them, except, of course, you can afterwards see who has subscribed to your events, which we'll get back to when we get into Business Central. But besides that, be careful what you're sending here. So it might also be a good idea to say, your name is not something I would say is critical, so it's fine by me. But if it's something more critical, you can also just say, okay, this customer has been updated. Please call Business Central to get the newest changes from this API page. Now, this is great. It doesn't really do anything else besides that. Then, of course, I've created a standard event subscriber down here saying that when the customer unvalidate of the name, then I'm saying, okay, once my name has been changed on my customer, send a notification, call this function, and that's it. That's all the code you need in Business Central to get your business events up and running. Now, if we jump over to our Postman here, we have this URL which is used to get the external event subscribers. It's built up where we have the tenant ID here, and we have our environment name. If I try to do a get against this, you can see I have already made a subscription where I can see what company it's subscribed to, my name here, which URL is going to be notified if something happens, and what kind of type, and so on and so on. If I want to create a new one, it's the same URL I use, I post, and then I post in this payload. And the payload, you have a company name, the company ID, the event name, which was the name that we provided in our AL code, the app ID, this is the ID for the extension that has this event in it. So whatever extension you have created, this is where you will provide that. The notification URL, who is going to be notified with this new payload once it happens. As you can see here, I've created a simple Power Automate flow, and then you have a client state. Now, the client state I'm not going to using, but it's actually a way of making a little bit of security, because you can say that a client here should say Business Central, and that means that only people who are notifying this URL up here in my Power Automate flow with the client ID, for example, Business Central, that should be processed. If anyone else is calling my URL with something else than Business Central, ignore that. And that, of course, is a way to make not Business Central more secure, but making whoever is getting notified more secure, because this security thing is on both sides. Because even we in Business Central are sending something to an unsecure endpoint, the system that is getting notified also has to have an unsecure endpoint, which is not something that most of us might actually want, but in some cases, like here, we have to do that. And then you can make the client ID like saying, okay, but at least we know that it's coming from this system. So of course, or maybe we shouldn't write Business Central here. We could write something like a GUL or something that makes it more, secret. Anyway, once that is set up, and you can see it's down here, if I now head to my Business Central, over here, I have the ability to go to Business Event Subscriptions. And as you can see, I have one here already. This is the one we saw before, where I can, inside Business Central, see who is actually subscribing to me. So you can either get it through the API, like we showed before in the Postman, or you can go directly inside the client. You can also go here and see the notification activity log and see who has been notified, which URL has been notified, and when. Which is a great way to, of course, keep a tabs on who's actually getting notified. And if something all of a sudden pops up in here which we did not recognize, then we have to do something. Either we say, okay, someone has gotten our client secret ID and we should not have it, so we have to change that. You also have to delete it, the subscriber. However, the only problem is you can't delete it directly here. You have to do that through a Postman, through a delete. We also have the notifications. You can see I've been sent 2 notifications. Now, if I try to go to my customer here, and I change this to, let's just say, test 3, like that. And I go to my Power Automate flows. I refresh it. You can see I've just received a new notification over here. And I go here and I see this is what I have received. I have received my new name and my customer ID. And that's pretty much all there is to using business events, external business events. If you're working inside Power Apps, this becomes a little bit more intuitive, and you can also use together with your virtual tables. It's a way for you to share data inside the Power Platform. But that's pretty much all there is here. And remember, all my source code is available on my GitHub, which is linked in the description below, and also there is a blog post that goes a little bit more in detail, which you can also find linked down below. Well, that was it for this very short video. I hope you learned something new, and until next time, stay safe and goodbye.